Welcome to the Auto Vault podcast, where the world of luxury meets the open road. This show is all about bringing together extraordinary people from all walks of life, united by one thing, a passion for automobiles. This podcast is your front row seat to the stories that drive us all. I'm Scott Prescott, founder and owner of Auto Vault Rodeo Drive here in beautiful downtown Beverly Hills. Hello, I'm Scott Prescott here at Auto Vault Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. We're on the Auto Vault podcast, and we're here today to talk with Cort Wagner, race car extraordinaire and real estate investment and advisor. Cort, you've been around. I've been around here for 45 years in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
You've been around probably that much longer. Although I have to say, I'm much younger than you are.
Much. Mentally. Mentally.
Yes.
Mentally much younger.
Did you grow up around here in California, or?
I grew up, I'm native California my whole life. Been in Los Angeles. Grew up in Westwood, so never really a Beverly Hills kid. You know, I was kind of always grew up right in the middle between Santa Monica, which is like the beachy extreme, and then Beverly Hills was another, I don't know, layer of wealth or level, different lifestyle than Westwood. Westwood was kind of very, you know, a great way to grow up in kind of middle America, very middle class, you know, kind of south of Wilshire is where I grew up.
Urban type.
A little
of
more
living.
urban, exactly.
Yeah,
a little bit if you call that about LA. But
yeah,
that's how I grew up. Yeah,
Wow.
lived on skateboards, you know, growing up. I mean, I lived on my skateboard and
Right.
used to surf in, you know, skateboard in pools with Tony Hawk and all those guys. And
Wow.
so it was Tony Alva, the guys, you know, so that was really fun growing up in that lifestyle here.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Now, when you say skateboards, when you were younger,
Yeah.
what got you into cars, or what was your first car? What got you involved in cars?
I think I was always kind of a bit loony on the adrenaline side, and my fear gauge was always a little broken. So I was one of the guys on the BMX bikes, you know, building wood ramps and trying to jump, you know, 20 feet, 30 feet in the air and landing on ramps that would break on the other side. And always ended up at UCLA Hospital with a number of broken bones, but always did that kind of thing. My family ran studios when I grew up. My dad was an executive at some of the studios and a producer and had independent gigs. But I never was into the movie industry, and it was never my thing. And I always kind of had to make my path. And when I was younger, and I wasn't into sports really, my parents were both working full time, so I was had a lot of idle time when I come home after school. So I think my first venture was when I bought a mini bike and got that running and started, you know, going nuts on a mini bike when I was 12 or 13, and then traded that for a go-kart in the neighborhood and kind of built the go-kart and tuned the carb, and, you know, was always kind of a bit of a mechanic, you know, kind of a grease monkey in my head, and made the go-kart run better. I ran alcohol in it back in the day and changed the jets on the carburetor and put a straight pipe on it, and was always looking to make stuff go faster and go crazy. And so
now was it a Briggs & Stratton Tecumseh or a two-stroke?
So it was a Briggs & Stratton.
Yeah.
I had a 3.5, then I upgraded to a 5-horsepower motor. You remember?
Me
with,
too,
with the McCullough clutch on it.
Yep.
And that was a great, you know, pull start. And
Yeah.
so those are kind of how I grew up, sliding around the neighborhood. And I spend all afternoon either working or driving my go-kart in the afternoons. And I just loved cars. And then I think my dad, when I was probably 12 or 13, my dad took me to the California 500. He was a guest there. And we were down in the pits, and I remember looking at the cars rip around at kind of Indy 500 style. California 500 was our version of the Indy 500 down at Fontana, Ontario Speedway. And I just remember seeing the cars and the pit girls and the whole environment. I'm like, I am hooked.
Wow.
So from that moment on, I just always really had it, you know, the adrenaline and the need for speed, if you will. Cliche.
Now, one of the things, and I'm kind of proud of the fact, and I say it on some of my podcasts, my first car, I literally drug out of the woods. It's a 55 Pontiac.
That's so
and
good.
ran it, and that was my first car. What was your first car?
Begged my father for a 71 fastback Mustang 4-speed out of Texas. And, you
Boss
know,
302?
It was actually a 351 Cobra Jet. I wish it was a Boss motor, but couldn't afford that. And the minute I got it, I literally backed it in the garage, pulled the hood off it, pulled the motor out of it because I wanted a better camshaft and port and polish the heads, and was always looking to get stuff better, faster, quicker. And I remember my father, we lived separately at the time, and he came over when he's like, I just bought this for you. It was perfect. What did you do to this thing? I said, Dad, I can make this thing so fast and rip it. He just looked at me like, okay, I guess you got it under control, but he was a little dumbfounded at my mechanical prowess.
Yeah. You know, when I was younger, like you and I probably grew up 60s, 70s, and 80s in the cars and all.
Yeah.
My favorite my favorite class in school, in high school, was shop. Of
course.
And
Mine too.
we were able to once a week bring our own cars in and work on our own cars.
Right.
So you would accumulate problems and issues at home.
Yeah.
Bring them to the teacher who was a certified mechanic.
Yeah.
He would help solve all your problems, and that's how I learned how to work on my cars.
Yeah, I
You know,
mean,
through all
it's,
that whole
you
thing.
know, the whole shop thing and whatever skill it is, whether it's woodworking I have great memories of, or metalworking, or I was in auto shop all the time. I remember I actually got kicked out of high school because I was putting a nitrous kit in my Mustang.
Wow.
And I installed it, and the teacher didn't mind, but the principal found out I was putting this illegal laughing gas kit in my Mustang, and they said, look, you're out of here, right?
Wow.
So I had detention for a week or something. I just remember these flashing back right now. But
That's the first nitrous story I've ever heard.
Right. Those are the days, and I was actually road racing the car, so it was pretty fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to ask later on, but I'll ask now. As far as cars go, growing up in those days, the sports cars, the exotic cars, the muscle cars, to me personally, that was a time when cars had soul.
Right.
That, you know, you get in them, that you want to roll your sleeves up and drive them, the clutches, the transmission, smells like you smoke tires, you smells like gas.
Yeah.
Today, it's not like that.
We live in a very digital world, I think is why you see such people opining for older Porsches, especially, that kind of segment. Some of the older Ferraris kind of go in and out of phase, but I think a lot of people, whether it's a JDM build, the 510s, the Zs, some of the Mustangs, you know, some of the Porsches, and people are really kind of moving backwards. It's funny. We've seen this big thing go for all the PDK transmissions and four-wheel drives and turbos and hybrids, and yes, they're faster, and everybody knows they can, you know, toss the socks off anything you have to shift. But people are really wanting the smell of gas again, you know, and I think we're seeing a kind of a big transition. I think you'll see Ferrari's next iconic car is actually going to be a manual gearbox. So that tells you almost everything about what's kind of going on with the world. But yes, like you, I think I grew up probably a little bit later than you, but I grew up racing in Mulholland and building my own cars, and the smell of gas and alcohol and burning rubber and drag racing on Van Nuys Boulevard, trying to win some gas money,
and then stay ahead of the cops,
and then going to Mulholland, then going to Mulholland and use all your gas money to race on Mulholland all night. I mean, that's kind of where I grew up, was Mulholland Drive. It's where I cut my teeth. Funny enough, I mean, it's a very small road when you look at it now, a 1.8 mile stretch or something. But you see, when you watch the auctions and you watch some of these numbers moving, it's really about the manual gearbox cars, the two-wheel drive, the naturally aspirated stuff. That's really keeping the segment, very inflated on the numbers, whether it's a Porsche Touring or whether it's a, shift Ferrari. The gated cars get massive amounts of money compared to the dual clutch or automatic.
Now, along with the racing thing, where do you think, based on what you're just saying, where do you think the future of racing may be going?
I mean, I think it's kind of enjoying a heyday right now, right? Sports car racing is really, you're seeing massive injection of money in sports car racing. You're seeing all the manufacturers backing Le Mans, 24 hours of Daytona, 12 hours of Sebring, 24 hours of Spa. Big manufacturer, kind of involvement in that. Huge money behind the budgets now are, I think I ran Le Mans 6 times. I think our biggest budget ever was like $250,000 to run Le Mans, and that was with Callaway. I drove for Callaway 2001, and Reeves put all the money behind that effort, and I put that car on the pole. That was just a great outcome for the pole. Motor broke during the race, but I think we spent $250,000. I think to win Daytona, I won Daytona with Alex Jobe with Porsche in '99, and I think our budgets all in, spare motors, testing, everything was $300,000, $250,000. Now you can't run Le Mans for under $1 million. And it's a one race event, right? It's the the Indy 500 of sports car racing. You can't run Daytona, I think, for under $1 million now, even in GT racing.
Right.
So I think it's seeing a heyday, and I do think we're going to see things stay mechanically where they are. I don't think look, Formula E, which is what everybody wanted to take off, this big fabulous formula for IndyCar open wheel racing, for a prototype for open wheel like IndyCar racing, but it was electric. As much money as they put behind that, and manufacturer involvement and DTM style presentation, it's never taken off, right? And nobody even looks at those races, and it's kind of slow death. So that tells you I think that sports car racing is very good. I think IndyCar is doing very well. It's one of the best series to watch that exist is IndyCar racing. I think they're not presenting it properly. I think it needs a different TV platform. It needs a different advertising platform because it's better to watch than Formula One.
Yeah.
But it's just not, doesn't have the money behind it.
Right.
I mean, F1 stole all the dollars.
Yeah.
Used to be NASCAR stealing all the money.
Yeah.
When I was in sports car racing
Yeah.
and raising money for sports car racing and sponsors, NASCAR used to take all the dollars.
Yeah, yeah.
Now F1 takes every dollar that they can afford. You know,
Wow.
so
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I think the manufacturers are very much behind sports car racing. You're seeing a lot of manufacturers coming into the hybrid, LMDH hybrid cars, the P1 cars with a top level of prototypes. So Aston Martin's in it, BMW, Porsche's in it, heavy, hardcore, Cadillac's in it. You know, Cadillac's now going into F1.
Yeah,
So I think racing's enjoying a really sweet spot right now
Yeah, yeah.
on both fields, F1, sports car, and IndyCar.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think about with the electric in the racing? What do you think about today, the actual electric cars that you and I can purchase? Where do you think that's going to go?
I mean, I think there's a huge rotation. I think you've seen big manufacturers jump all in. Look, Elon Musk came out and forced the hand for all these manufacturers.
Yeah.
His Model 3, the Model Y, the Model S. The Model S is the first one. Well, the little electric convertible based on the Lotus was his first car. And then Franz van Holzhausen, our friend at Tesla, good friend of mine, he built the Model S and it did fabulously. And everybody went, oh my God, he's selling so many cars. And the numbers were spitting out. And he's selling more four-door sedans in that segment than any other car being made at the time, beating the S-Class, beating the 7 Series BMW.
Yeah, yeah.
And every manufacturer went, oh my God, it's the future. And then, you know, Europe came down with these E7 smog laws, which really pushed the electric too quickly. And I think it really bit all the manufacturers pretty badly. I mean, you look at Porsche right now, really struggling because of the electric rotation. Mercedes struggling with the electric rotation. The EQSs, the G-Wagons, all of them not really selling unless there's a great lease program behind it. I mean, I have an electric car. We drive in the family. We drive daily, and they're fabulous transportation. I love them for getting around town.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're a great commuter car.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, especially in California, you have lots of electricity.
Yeah.
It's clean electricity.
Yeah.
So do I think electric car makes sense in a state where they're burning coal to make your electricity? Not so much, right?
yeah,
But in California, we're lucky to have clean electricity to power them. But look, for transportation, they're fabulous. Beyond that, I mean, how many Remax are selling? Not many.
Yeah, yeah.
How many Batistas are selling?
Yeah.
Not many, right? That's why Porsche canceled the Mission X, which was their all-electric hypercar, shelved it because they realized there was no demand for it.
Yeah, yeah.
And now they're going to go back and probably release some kind of hybrid or all-gas, you know, hypercar.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, getting into racing yourself, when you got into it, is there any like mentors that helped you along the way? Did you have like training, coaching, and anybody that helped you along that you can?
You know, it's pretty organic back then. It wasn't nearly as expensive as it is now to go racing. It's very difficult to climb the ranks in racing, whether it's sports car racing, open wheel racing in Europe, the Formula 3, Formula 2, F4 championships require tons of capital, right? So I did not really have any mentors. Growing up in Los Angeles, having a family from the entertainment side, I was kind of on my own.
Really?
But, you know, I graduated college, came out, started doing home loans, did some residential debt, commercial debt, made a little money, sent myself to Europe because a buddy of mine said, hey, I'm going to go do this Elf Winfield Championship, Formula 3000 runoffs in Europe. I said, okay, what's that? So we went to Europe. I ended up winning this championship thing on a fluke. Like 30 people from all over the country wanted to win this thing at Paul Ricard at the Elf Winfield School. So got a scholarship, came back, ran Skip Barber. Skip Barber is a great series. That's where I cut my teeth.
Wow.
Driving Formula Fords all over the country. I said to myself, okay, $3,000 a weekend, which is what the cost was approximately if you didn't wreck, which wasn't often I didn't, but you know, you could spend $3,000 a weekend, learn the tracks, learn how to drive, great coaches. It's where I met one of my great co-drivers, Kelly Collins, where we had a big career in sports car racing together. Anthony Lazzaro, you know, all the guys.
Wow.
Johnny O'Connell's, where we did a lot of stuff at Skip Barber. Learned a lot of tracks, and my first break was with Ferrari Beverly Hills.
Wow.
And my mentors there were like really Didier Taze. He was out of an IndyCar series, and he was running the Ferrari Challenge Series, and I had to test for a sponsored ride back in 1994. So ended up winning that championship in Ferrari Challenge, and it kind of just escalated from there.
Wow.
But yeah, you just kind of, back then you could snowball a little bit, raise a little bit of money, get yourself in it. It wasn't so expensive, but now is a different formula. You have to start much younger. You got to be in go-karts. You have to be on simulators. You have to have coaches. There are 19 ways to get yourself quicker and better. So you got to be careful how you spend your dollars. But I wish I had more of a mentor. I kind of wish I almost didn't go to college so I could go to open wheel. But I was too old at that time to kind of really chase an IndyCar career. But everything turned out great.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because back then, automobiles back then versus today. When I ask you, I ask current race car drivers, there's layers of help. There's layers of coaches. There's layers of things. There's even some race car drivers actually have teams of positive people that are paid to keep them positive. Just in the race season. And growing up, probably in your time, you were all on your own. It's you or nothing, and you pulled through that with your own mindset. You know, and that's the other question I was going to ask was, when you get suited up and you get ready to get in the car. What do you do to stay positive? I mean, the risk factor is a life and death thing, obviously. Do you do anything to get suited up and positive about what you're going to do?
I mean, I wish I knew more about the mental side of it early on than the physical side, because I always trained very hard for the physical side, because back then it was much more physical than the sports cars are today, because we had to shift. We didn't have ABS. We had manual steering. You know, it was really physical in the cars. And to do a double or a triple stint, you know, at Sebring in an all manual car and in a non-assisted car was really physical. So
you could lose pounds, right? I mean, basically.
I mean, you know, Daytona 24-hour, if you were one of the lead drivers, I lost 12 or 13 pounds. You know, mostly water weight, but some muscle mass as well. But
Jimmy Craig, look out.
You lose. you lose weight. You do. You get dehydrated, and you get out of the cars. You get IVs. You get rehydrated, massages. I wish I knew more about the mental side of it, because it's a very mental sport. And to stay, you don't really think about the danger when you get in the car. If you actually thought about you're going to get hurt when you get in the race car, or there's an opportunity to really die, or the risk side of it, you'd never get in.
Wow. Now, is there anybody in the world, in the racing world, kind of that you looked up to? Anybody, any race car drivers and all that you kind of look up to?
Well, you're always in admiration of some of the super quick sports car racers. I was a sports car racer, so for me, whether it was Jackie Ickx or the Derek Bells or some of these, you know, Tom Christensen, who won Le Mans 8 times. I mean, those guys are, you know, the best of the best of the best at endurance racing. So you look at those guys, and you know, and you drive around them. I drove around all these guys for a lot of years. Hans Stuck, you know, a teammate of mine, Bill Oberlin, who's the winningest sports car driver in the United States. You always look at these guys, and you always want to pull from them what you can. It's always, what are they doing to get there? Is it physical? Is it mental? Is it style? Is it, you know, you analyze their data. As a co-driver, I shared a championship with Bill Oberlin and Ferrari. You always are learning from taking the strengths from these people and hopefully apply it to yourself. But yeah, I mean, look at Lewis Hamilton. He's always been, I'm always inspired by him. His off track, his attitude, his approach to the sport, you know, 7-time, actually 8-time in my eyes, world champion. I mean, he's the best of the modern era, and is always able to deliver weekend after weekend. You know, Max Verstappen, newer, younger guy, obviously raw talent, maybe second to none at the moment. You know, but those guys, you're always in admiration of those guys. 100%.
Very good. Well, now in your quest between what you do, the real estate world and the car world, real estate, as far as investment goes, buying property, you know, and property is worth more money. Well, in the car world, it's similar to that too. Knowing how to buy certain cars for investment purposes. Do you have, because you do that, right? I mean, you know what it's worth. Is there a formula for that? Or?
I think it's been a little bit of luck. I think it's been a little bit of good taste, and a little bit of timing the markets. I used to be a tier 1 client at Ferrari. Loved the Ferraris. Not so much now as I did back then. I was a big client of theirs. I won 2 world championships with Ferrari as a driver. So it was great. It's a very passionate brand. When you win with Ferrari, it's almost like you don't know, nothing else exists than Ferrari. It's a very different emotional platform with Ferrari than it is like when I was driving with Porsche. I won 3 world championships with Porsche, but it was a little more surgical or clinical, if you will, with them. It's expected, and it's it's what you're supposed to do, right? With Ferrari, every win was a celebration and passion and accreditation of being a talent at the time. The cars, I always worked in real estate and did lending as a way to buy cars and a way to go racing. I love lending and I love real estate. I've never been a big real estate investor, a couple homes, whatever, nothing really. But for me, it was always about buying cars and collecting cars. My passion is cars, street cars. It always has been. I grew up racing street cars. I love street cars. And for the past decade, I think Porsche's really been, for me, a standout as far as product, performance, reliability, collectability. They've really ridden a nice wave, and the wave has been because of their platforms and their strategy and what they're building. That wave has been a continuous crescendo because they're building the right cars. I think Ferrari went a little bit askew with some of their platforms, mechanical platforms and design. And I think they lost a lot of the purist driving customer because it became such an expensive trade. And, look, you can't fault Ferrari as a company. I mean, the stock value is 5x since it released, right? If not greater. So as far as the value proposition, no one beats Ferrari to the game. But from a driving perspective and a collecting perspective, I do love the Porsche side. To me, it's more of a driver's car.
Right.
If you're
I've heard that too.
If you're at a Cars and Coffee and a guy pulls up in a F8 Ferrari, beautiful car, fast as can be, right? Incredible performance, but nobody says, "Oh, that guy's ripping canyons. Oh, I want to talk to him about what it's like to be on the track." No one's thinking that with a Ferrari guy. And I think for me, that's where they've lost their way a little bit. They used to be a much more passionate brand. When Montezemolo was running the company, it was all about passion, performance, racing. And when it got bought and made public, a couple new presidents came in, it feels more about a revenue model. Corporate revenue model. You have to have X brand new cars to be able to get the candy.
Pushing product.
Pushing product. You want to come to a race school, you have to do 5 layers. Again, they built an amazing car. A 296 to me is one of the best cars they built in a long time.
Really?
Oh, it's rock star fast. Great chassis.
Beautiful
amazing motor, pretty car, the right size, amazing powertrain, great handling. Again, a little numb on the brakes. It's a fly-by-wire, a brake-by-wire system, and the haptic feedback switches they initially did the last couple of years hurt them a lot. Everybody I know hates the haptic feedback switches in the new series. They actually recently, I think a couple weeks ago, came out and said, "We made a mistake. We're now retrofitting all the cars with physical knobs on the steering wheel," which is, kudos to them. Kudos to them. They tried to move forward with the whole one screen, big screen, Tesla style haptic feedback thing, and it didn't work. And everybody complained. And so they went back the other way, which, again, when you ask me about what the future of cars is, I think it's more buttons. I think it's more physical components. I think it's shifting. I think there'll be more clutches. I think those cars are what drivers want.
Yeah. And what about, like, let's say in Porsche? Porsche, it was a car company. Personally, I was never impressed with.
Right.
But they became so prominent.
Right.
And they became so good.
Right.
You have to like them. You have to.
You can't. It's a segment you could avoid for a long time. Look, when I was growing up and you were growing up here in Beverly Hills, it was It was always about the Ferrari, right? The Daytona, the 275 GTB4, the 330 GTS, 250 LM, right? These cars were like God, right? You look at these and they come ripping across Wilshire Boulevard in the middle of the night and you could hear the V12 singing, and that's what stirred your emotions, right? And you and I probably grew up with the smell of the same gas on the Ferrari. It was really inspiring. And racing for them was the biggest treat I could have ever had, and it was some of my best memories. But Porsche picked up where they kind of left off, I think, and you can't ignore the Porsche brand is, for the past decade, has been so strong. And they've made all the right steps in the enthusiast department. Pat Long, an ex-teammate of mine, started Luftgekühlt, which has been an incredible brand.
Air and water.
Air and water with Pat and Howie Idelson. Those guys have done an amazing job with that brand. And Jeff Swart.
And one thing I've noticed too, the Porsche design, the car, literally hasn't changed for 60 years. I mean, and basically to mean that it works. What they designed basically works. They just perfect it. You know, and you can
100%.
always recognize a Porsche. You can't necessarily recognize a Ferrari or BMW or
Right.
Mercedes. They're
Right.
constantly changing.
That's right.
But the Porsche has stayed the same.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, look, the truth is, you know, if Paul Newman or Steve McQueen weren't driving up the Alps with a pair of skis on the back of a VW with a motor in the back, 911 with a pretty blonde next to him, that car probably would have failed, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it got romanticized
Yeah,
back in some of the old movies, you know, with
yeah.
Newman and McQueen driving these beautiful 911s, right? And
Yeah.
and it was, you know, in the Alps with the skis on the back, right? And the pretty starlet next to them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of got the 911 some of its Hollywood fame, if
Right,
you will,
right,
right? I mean, it probably
right.
would have failed entirely. No, the motor's never been in the right place in a 911,
Right.
ever. It's
Yeah.
it still
Yeah.
isn't.
But some reason
But
it
the
works.
engineering they've got behind it to
Yeah.
make it feel like it's actually more mid-engine than
Yeah.
it is amazing.
And
Yeah.
they never talk about horsepower. Porsche never speaks about how much horsepower they have. Or
Yeah.
They don't need to.
No.
The car just outperforms everything.
That's
all.
right. I mean, a 500 or 600 horsepower, 650 now, Turbo S
Yeah.
is still the benchmark against almost everything.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Ferrari 296, 820 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower SF90s.
Yeah.
The Turbo S is your benchmark.
Yeah.
It always is. Every drag race, every YouTube video, every, you know, everything you see is always against a Turbo S.
Right,
Right. So
right.
that's something to be
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
You know.
Now, and Porsche also has all these different models. The
Right.
911R,
Right.
the Sport Classic.
Right.
You know, now they have the ST.
Yeah.
And they're kind of little pieces, bits and pieces of throwbacks, a little bit old school and
Right.
different pieces and parts.
Yeah.
Do you think Porsche will ever go back to a high technology in an air-cooled motor, just to go back in a retro?
I don't think you can go air cooled anymore with current smog laws. You
Oh.
can't control temperature and combustion and gas burning and smog
With air.
with the air. Unfortunately, I think it's all about keeping temperatures in the cylinder heads
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be able to control your knock and your smog and all your, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah.
why they came out with the new hybrid GTS. A phenomenal platform. It's faster. It sounds decent. Lots of torque. Runs amazing. You're never going to beat Porsche at the tech game. But they only came out with that platform because of the smog laws, right?
see.
It stays what they called in lambda for a
Yeah, yeah.
longer period of time while it's running. Lambda, the ultimate lambda, is the best smog window. So they're able to build a motor that stays in the optimal smog, the least amount of smog parameter longer while it's driving, which is the only
Control
reason.
the coolant, basically, you're saying.
It's cooling, it's electric turbochargers. I mean, I think what you see Porsche doing with the electric turbocharger is going to be the advent of new technology coming into all the car manufacturers.
Wow.
It's a phenomenal technology.
Yeah.
And for all the cars that can get the customers with the right price tag, because they're expensive, the turbocharger units themselves and the technology is expensive, everybody's going to have electric turbochargers.
Yeah, yeah,
And they should, because
Yeah.
it's really a phenomenal new
Yeah.
version of the continuous development.
Now, we're old enough to remember when I was a kid, the Ultimate motor had a supercharger stacked on top of it.
That's
that
right.
was the motor. That was the thing to have.
That's
when
right.
that went by, the ground rumbled, and you were mesmerized by
A
it.
671 blower on the
Yeah.
top of a 400-inch big block
Yeah.
was, I mean, that
That's
was
the
those.
we actually have one back here. That
Do you really?
Even starting it up, it's just
Yeah,
crazy car.
yeah.
But I remember when those were the happening thing,
Yeah.
the turbochargers came into view, and everybody disliked the turbochargers. It was kind of the little wimpy thing
Right,
that
right,
didn't work,
right.
and actually ended up with technology actually going past the amazing, now making
Yeah.
the supercharger obsolete.
Well, superchargers have a lot of parasitic loss,
Yes,
energy
yeah.
loss, a lot of drag.
Use
so
a lot
they're
of
not very,
horsepower.
they're not a very efficient way of
Yeah.
having pressurized combustion.
Yeah.
And the turbocharger was the next step to
Yeah.
efficiency.
Yeah.
But then you had a lot of heat because it's driven off the exhaust manifolds.
Yeah.
So you were dealing
Yeah.
with the heat all the time. I actually had a 260Z back in the day. I sold my Mustang and wanted to go do more road racing. I had the first ever HKS turbo kit for a Z that was ever brought in the United States. HKS, was a
yeah.
company that was just
Yep.
flourishing back
Yeah.
in the day. This is probably the early 80s,
Yeah,
or mid 80s at the time. And I had a 78Z at the time, 76 260Z, and we did a pressurized turbo kit, and it ran fabulous. It was
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
A lot of the Japanese cars kind of perfected that, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
They did. It was small displacement, good
Yeah.
pressure. Yep. And that really became efficient. And the hybrid turbo is now, kind of the new supercharged turbocharger, middle variant of that, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think you're
Yeah.
going to see It's expensive, so a lot of manufacturers are kind of staying away from it a little bit, but I think you're going to see, like, for instance, the new F80 hypercar that Ferrari's doing, right, is a 296 size V6 in it, right? But it uses all the technology out of the F1 motor, which is the electric MGUKs, so it uses a whole different pressurized induction system on it than a 296. And it's also a hybrid. So much more expensive induction system on the F80 than a 296, even though it's almost the same motor.
Wow, it's just more technology.
It's just better and better and better.
And I was told, too, as far as technology, I was told even today, the 812, the 812, the F12, the 599s, they all basically start with the same 12-cylinder block. Is that true? And they build from there.
They do. They revised all of it. I mean, it's all a derivative of the F50, right? The F50 used the first ever road car to use an F1 motor in it, right? At the same time, and then 10 years later, the Carrera GT got the V10 from the F1, the defunct hybrid, defunct LMP program. But the F50, so you're seeing a V12 variant that kind of kept evolving from the F50 V12, and now it's whatever, 6.2 liter. It's massive. And the fact that you could literally buy a road car today, run it on 91 octane, which is horrible gas here in California, run like 11-to-1 compression on 91 octane, and spin it to like 9,500 RPM and make, 800 plus horsepower. I mean, that is technology. I mean, that's why you spend so much money on those cars. The power plant in 812 and the new DC Cylindri car is incredible. F12s, all
evolution.
I had a TDF. It was amazing. And so you really do get, the best of the piezoelectric knock sensors. You get the best fuel-air mixtures. You get the best monitoring of all the intake and smog, and to make it all work at those levels. People have no idea how good of a motor we currently have. It's amazing.
So you and I can't take our toolbox out and lift the hood and adjust those motors. That's gone now.
I mean, look, all the mechanics I know that have been working on cars at dealerships are all, basically now just replacing modules. And they're kind of hating it. It's for the guys that like to get their hands dirty. You and I used to always work on my cars. I loved it. Take the transmission out, change the clutch, change gear ratios, actually build your cars at night. You're not doing that so much. And it's but again, I think that's why people go back and opine for some of these older Porsches and some of the older Corvettes, some of the American-made cars that you can actually work on.
Going back old school.
That's kind of what we're seeing.
Now I wanted to go back on the turbos. The GT2, what is it? First generation would be a 993, 996.
993.
Those had a single turbo in them, right?
Twin turbo. 993.
Now those were considered I'd heard called the Widowmakers, simply because turbos kicked in too quickly when you weren't expecting it, basically, and you lose the car.
Yes, that in combination with like this banana trailing arm kind of suspension. So when it did kick in, 76 was the first year for the 930 turbo, right? Single turbo back then, but that wasn't a GT2. That was just a 930. It would squat the rear, right? So you had this kind of very soft suspension, very, single trailing arm, banana swing arm, kind of rudimentary. And then when you lift it off, from it being squatted, the rear would lift a lot, move around, and all of a sudden you're kind of asses to elbows chasing your hands. And if you didn't have fast hands, it would hurt you. I mean, that's kind of why the GT2 RS, the 2019, the newest iteration, 1819 2RS, you get in it and drive it hard. I had one for 3 years, love them. It's tuned like a normally aspirated motor. It does not give you that punch in the back you expect of 700 horsepower turbo motor. It's fast, but they really tuned it to really pull hard in the upper top of the rev band. So it didn't. Look, manufacturers have a tough job. They got to make the car work when it's 30 degrees out, and they got to make it safe when it's 130 degrees out, right? So here they are putting 720 horsepower in a car, 702 horsepower, whatever the number is, 712 something, and a GT2 RS, and Cup 2 tires, and they expect to keep you alive in all these, weather conditions, right? So they tuned it so it didn't have that huge torque hit in the bottom like the old turbos did to scare you, or to kill you, if you will, right? Look, Roger Rodas is a friend of mine, so was Paul Walker. That really set back a lot of.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fear in especially with Porsche.
Yep.
After that
Yep.
happened,
Yep.
right? It's why they did the new cup tire.
Yep.
It's why they did all the suspension upgrades of the Carrera GT.
Yep.
Which I love. I'm glad they did that.
Yeah. And it did. That incident really did put a stain on things. And
It put a
but
stain.
from
Still
what I
does.
heard, it was a whole perfect storm of situations that happened all at once. And it wasn't necessarily the problem of the car, but they still had. An issue.
Well, you never want to point fingers, but the car had its original tires on it.
Oh, yeah.
The original PS4s. And I have a Carrera GT. I've owned them for a long time. A Carrera GT on old tires.
Yeah, deadly.
Oh, you think something's broken in the back. I
Wow.
remember taking mine up a canyon one day, just Sunday morning, starting to put some speed in it, and the thing was stepping out in the rear, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I literally pull over, look underneath, see if a sway bar's broken. I'm shaking the car, I'm jumping up and down on it. I'm like, okay, something's wrong with this car.
Wow.
I drive in the canyons more, and the rear steps out like twice. I'm like, okay, something's wrong with this car, right? My eyes go like this, right? You know, bring it back to the shop. This is probably 15 years ago, 12 years ago. I bring it back to the shop. I'm like, guys, pull the pans off this thing. Something's going on with this car. They go through it, check the alignment, check all the hind joints, check sway bars, uprights, links. Everything's perfect in the car. I'm like, okay, you know what? Even though the tires only have 400 miles on them, because I hadn't driven it much on this set of tires, I'm like, put a new set of tires on it. They're like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, put the new set of tires on it. Magic.
Wow.
All better.
Wow.
So that car is a short wheelbase, very low inertia flywheel, touchy.
Yep.
The gas pedal's mounted to the bottom of the floor. It doesn't hang off the top.
Yep.
So when you get in the bumps, you start to give it gas and start to go through the undulations, and the car kind of what, and you start to get in this giving it gas and ungiving it gas, and there's no very small flywheel on the motor, so all the power goes right to the rear wheels, and it's a combination of like you got to have your wits about you to Old tires made it diabolical. The new setup, it's fabulous. You know, I mean, look, Walter Rohr was testing that car at Nürburgring, knocked himself out, concussion, almost dead in the car. Few people know about this. Almost like an airplane crash by the time it stopped, destroyed itself. So they knew it had its development issues, right? Porsche always knew that. But when the Paul Walker thing, they went to the engineering board and said, okay, how do we make sure this car is great? New tires, people are doing new shocks with them, which is great. It's a great car.
I'd actually heard a few clients. The dealer actually will take them back. There's some recalls, and they'll actually include new tires in the recall.
The current recall is all new suspension arms because there were some metallurgy issues on the older arms breaking some of the mount points. So they put all new suspension arms on it, all new tires, new alignment, everything. Wow. Yeah, it's like $120,000 recall. But they did a big stop drive on the car for like a couple of years. They kind of told the clients like, look, park it. So it's kind of that was a little bit of effect of the values on them as well. But now they're great. Michelin did a whole new tire for it, new alignments, all new control arms and everything. Now they're you can really have fun in them.
Now that car, the Carrera GT, came out 2005,
2004 and 2005,
and then the Mercedes-Benz SLR also came out at the same time. And I still think, the Carrera GT now is approaching worth. It's $1 million, isn't it almost?
Oh yeah, good. A good Carrera GT is $2 million.
Okay, $2 million.
Yeah.
So, but the SLR still, I think, is very undervalued, isn't it, as a car?
Look, I had one. I had a 720 2S convertible. I had like the beautiful gray one they came out with. It's so pretty. I had to own it, right? And they were at the time they couldn't sell them. I think I bought mine for $300,000 at the time, which is they're now $900,000, right? It's a beautiful car. It's not fun to drive. And that's kind of where people, I think, shy away from it. It's got a 5-speed slush box. There's no blip shifting. It's kind of
long
heavy,
front end.
long front end. You can get around that, but it kind of handles funky. You kind of pogo off the rear. The transmission's not great. Beautiful motor. The supercharged V8 is a steadfast V8, a fantastic V8, but just never handled great, and the shifting was horrible, and I think that's kind of why the values are suppressed. I know some people have a bunch of them, and they love them, and they're great to drive to town, go to dinner in, go to Cars and Coffee, go up the coast in it. It's unique. It's all carbon fiber. But Mercedes had a huge fallout with Ron Dennis on that car. That's where they fell out because it was a McLaren-Mercedes joint venture.
Motor.
And when Mercedes kept pushing on Ron saying, we want this car to be automatic. We want it to be Mercedes-like. We want, the trunk. We want to put groceries in it. We want to put golf bags in it. We want the top to be electric. We want, it to be Mercedes luxury. It went a very opposing direction to where Ron Dennis wanted to take the car, and they had a huge fallout and separated because of that. And they fell apart on that.
Wow.
They actually, Ron and his team actually had a big fix for the SLR. They had a whole new suspension package, springs, shocks, and sway bars to make it a really fun and nimble car, and it never got approved.
Wow.
Yeah, because they get kind of separated ways. But
So
yeah,
it
it's
kinda
a little,
stopped its
little
production.
secret to that car.
Ah,
They just said,
yeah.
we're done with the project, we're out.
You're frozen time.
Frozen time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm learning a lot today. I'm
Yeah.
learning a lot.
Yeah.
Now, back into the racing world and
Yeah.
all, what do you, younger racers, do you have any advice to give to them? What you think, what you've learned coming through the racing ranks, what you would give a young racer an advice for?
I mean, I think it really, you can't keep moving ahead unless you have some raw talent. And raw talent will be exploited early on. In go-karts, I think you got to get into the karting world early on and be able to showcase your talent if you have it.
Yeah.
So if you have the talent and you can drive around any adversarial conditions, anything that rain, sun, hot, bad motors, bad chassis, if you can drive around that, you're going to shine early on. And I think that's, strong. You also need money. Today, you got to have capital.
Yeah.
If you don't have capital, you could be incredible, but never get noticed.
Right.
So
right.
I think for young racers, I think going to business school, marketing school, taking courses in marketing, realizing what benefits companies now, social media being such a massive, element to what companies value on their bottom line as far as where ad dollars are being spent and what that's being perceived as. I think drivers need to be equal part business people as well as talents.
Wow.
I don't think you can go very far up the ranks in open wheel, sports car, karting, IndyCar, anywhere, unless you have both.
Wow.
Unless you come fully funded. You
Right,
may have a
right.
family.
Yeah,
You may have a
exactly.
family
Yeah.
and says, look, just get after it. We'll give you the best of everything. And if you have the talent, you'll get there.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're able to adapt and use those assets to the best possible and drive around it, you will get to where you want to be and get paid eventually.
Right.
Right? But if you're not funded, like I was never funded, I worked my butt off just to get into a car and kept raising money and begging friends for sponsorship. And back in the day, I raised 25 grand. I ran Le Mans with Ferrari. That's all they needed. Bring a little bit of money and you can run, Le Mans with us, right?
Yeah.
And Callaway, I was actually paid with Callaway and Porsche in the other years. But, and early on, you had to kind of find abilities to hustle and groove. And that's where growing up in LA helped because I had a lot of connections and friends when I was teaching and racing in Ferrari Challenge and met a lot of people that were able to help me because I won the championship and they were like, okay, maybe this kid's got a shot at doing some success in racing. So here, you want 5 grand or 10 grand? They were able to help me a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was instrumental. It's how I was able to climb the ladder a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Back then, you didn't need $250,000. I mean, people I know now, kids I know now, early 20s, they want to go to Le Mans. Even if you're super quick, unless you have $250,000 with you, if you don't have a proven name, you need at least $250,000 to get a seat.
Wow.
Right? So it's the hurdles are bigger now.
Yes, big money, big money.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Cort, this has been an amazing ride.
Yeah. I mean,
I love to speak with you. I love to hear. I learned so much today. That's
Yeah.
amazing. My head's spinning.
No,
I
it's
have
great.
to sit down and think about all
That's
this.
great.
And thank you all for listening. Thanks for coming
Yeah.
along for the ride.
Yeah.
And thank you, Cort.
yeah. Thanks for having me. I've been a client of yours and an admiration of your business model here for 40 years. I mean, back 30 years ago, getting my cars washed here when you had a little wash set up before you got too big for us.
Yeah. Well, that's not true.
No. But I mean, it's an amazing what you do.
Right,
And your
thank you.
model, as you know, I mean, you were the forefront of car storage.
Yeah.
You kind of started the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Now everybody's building car storage condos and
Right,
clubhouses. And
Yeah.
I love that you kept this model here and local and manageable.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful operation you have here with the most elite clientele. And, Godspeed. Thank you for having
Yes.
me.
Less is more.
At our age, less is more.
Well, thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
And everybody, thanks for listening.
Yeah,
Thanks for
appreciate
riding
it.
with us.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Thanks for riding with us today. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe and share. See you here next time.